Michigan State basketball off to a white-hot start. We love all the players on this team, but still, who isn't getting enough credit?
You are Locked On Spartans, your daily podcast on the Michigan State Spartans, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Spartan friends, Spartan family, Locked On Spartans listeners, thank you all so much for ending your week with us right here at Locked On Spartans, part of the #1 ranked Locked On Podcast Network. Please rate, review, subscribe, comment below, and get seated for a great conversation of Michigan State basketball. Not just with me. I'm not going to monologue this entire show. No. We got a familiar voice. And not because he's been on the show last year, but he is the game day host at the Spartan Media Network. It is Zach Surdenik. My goodness gracious, Zach, awesome to see you. Welcome back home from your West Coast trip, by the way. But let's talk about these Spartans that just have found a way to win, well, the last 5 games. Not too shabby of a trip out west, and they've started the whole season 17-2, right? 7-1 in Big Ten play. And my goodness gracious, every single player is getting some love on this team. But Zach, who needs a little bit more shine right now? Because there's only seemingly 10 candidates for a question like this. But Zach, what say you? Because you're with these guys day in and day out, it seems like, too.
Yeah, so it almost feels like my answer on this could have shifted a lot of different points throughout the season. One guy we talked about on the pregame show before the game in Oregon that I think has been getting a lot better, and I don't know that he doesn't get any credit because people are starting to talk about him, especially because of the plus minus. You hear a lot about Jordan Scott, but the growth of Jordan Scott in this 5-game stretch is something that's been really nice to see, because we talked about it at Nebraska, first big road environment. He struggled a bit, as did a lot of the guys on that game. It was not a fun night out in Lincoln, but coming back, the way he's looked so much smoother attacking. The Oregon game was not the greatest example because he got in some foul trouble, similar to Kurt Tang, who's been playing a lot better too. But Jordan Scott just looks so smooth, and it was an interesting comparison. We hear the coaching staff talk a lot about him as like a guy like Max Christie or Gary Harris. Matt Stegenga threw out the name Steve Smith. Obviously, that's a high comparison, but also Matt played with Steve Smith, so he kind of has an idea, and he talked about the length and the ability for the ceiling for Jordan Scott is really high, and I think that he's a guy that's going to be a lot of fun to watch as he kind of continues to develop, and I think he's doing that in front of our eyes. I don't think it's going to be we need to see what Jordan Scott looks like in 3 years. I think it's going to be in 3 weeks. What does Jordan Scott look like? And seeing the same thing with Cam Ward getting back from his injury, too. Absolutely. He's a huge part of this team.
You know what? I just want to zoom in on Jordan Scott a little bit more here. And if this is the floor for his defense for the rest of his career at Michigan State, whether that's 2 years, 4 years, whatever it is here, my goodness gracious, that guy plays some pretty damn good defense for a freshman here. And I go back a few games, actually. I was lucky enough to be at this Indiana game. Yeah. And one thing I just wanted to key in on is, well, who's going to defend Lamar Wilkerson, and how well are you going to do it? It was Colin Carr, who I thought played extraordinary on him. And then when he needed a blow, oftentimes it was Jordan Scott. And, okay, for a true freshman to play that Loctite on Wilkerson, and yes, Wilkerson did go off for, I believe it was 19 points, but kept him pretty stifled for most of the first half. I mean, and Wilkerson's just a great shot maker. If that's the floor that Jordan Scott has started his career with on the defensive end, oh my, Zach.
Yeah.
Oh my, shades of Gary Harris, perhaps, who's also a pretty Loctite wing. So I love the Jordan Scott pick. I mean, truly, take your pick of any player on this team, because Zach, am I allowed to take the easy way out here on this question? Can I just be like in the moment? I'm going to ask you for permission on this.
I think so. Let's see what you're going to say. Because if you go where I think you're going to go, I might have something about it, but we'll see.
Is it a guy that just scored his career high points? Is it that? Is it the guy that just had a career high blocks of 4 blocks? Is it one Carson Cooper, formerly of IMG's B team? Yeah. Did you know that, Zach? That's a little known fact that hasn't been drilled into us enough here. Anyway, whenever Carson Cooper's brought up in a post-game show, the refrain is oftentimes, man, Carson Cooper, he's doing really great, but I don't think we talk enough how great he is. Here's that time, Zach. Here's the time where we're going to start talking about how great he is, because in every sense of the word, his growth has been unbelievable. I truly can't believe how well he's looked so far this year. And Like, this is just simply looking at a box score and seeing what you're seeing with your own eyes.
Right.
The box score, Zach, going into the season, in his 3 years combined, he had just 4 double-digit scoring games combined in the first 3 years. Now he has 11 of those games. He's averaging 10.5 and 7.5, but it's just how he's doing it when you're watching. He's finishing oops strongly at the rim, and you don't take that for granted here. Some of these finishes that he has on these lobs are very athletic lobs. He's finishing 67% at the rim. He's 74% from the free throw line in the last 2 years combined, which for a guy his size, incredible. He's one of the best rebounders in the Big Ten. He has only gotten to 4 fouls in one game so far this year, Zach, where in years past, he would start the game with 3 fouls attached to his name. He was a foul machine, whether I think they were actual fouls or not, neither here nor there. But he is playing smooth, Loctite defense, foul-free for the most part. And also, he's got the highest block percentage of his career. Zach, I know we talk about it, IMGB team. And hey, you stay here for 4 years under Izzo, you will develop. Never in my wildest dreams through the last 3 years did I think it would look like this for Carson Cooper. Holy smokes.
Yeah, and it's really interesting because obviously I don't know that any of us really expected this type of production from him, but I go back to when I was a student covering the team and I was doing a couple of the games on Big Ten Plus his freshman year. And I remember the rumor was everybody thought he was going to redshirt. And as we were kind of getting around the team, we kind of started to hear whispers of hey, they think this guy can help this team this year. And he didn't play a ton, but he was there. And I remember he had probably his best game of his freshman year in the tournament against USC that year. And it was just a little thing where he continued to grow, and we've seen that continued development. I've been really impressed defensively because what they're asking him to do is he's guarding the 4 for the most part. I mean, a lot of these times he's a 6'11" guy guarding on the perimeter. He's guarded Caleb Wilson and Cam Boozer and all of these elite 4 men. And it's pretty much been whoever is the better perimeter defender out of Cooper and Kohler, or the perimeter player out of the bigs for the opponent, that's the one that Cooper's going to get. And for the most part, he's had a lot of success against those guys. Caleb Wilson got him early, had a couple of big-time dunks for UNC, but for the most part, he struggled. And this kind of goes back to talking with what you talked about with Jordan Scott and Cohen Carr, and it's something that I admire so much about this team. They're going to make you work for it. Yes. Everything that you want to do, you're going to have to work for it. This is the type of defense that's just going to shut the water off, and there's not much you're going to be able to do about it. I think Darius Acuff, he had a decent game, 16 points, right? But he needed 16 shots to do it. And guys like that are going to have to put up a ton of shots and put up a ton of tough shots to be able to really get yours against this Michigan State team. And that'll come into play a little bit later when we talk about the Maryland game as well. Yeah. But you really have to do everything to get this team and to be able to do something against this group, even when they're not playing that well. I mean, Oregon obviously has had their struggles, but you hold a team like that to 52 points, you're holding teams under 60 points in Big Ten play. 2 teams have scored 70 points on this team. And it's so weird because the numbers are a little skewed because of that Cornell game, which is just the most random. I know. 114 to 97, 72 points for Penn State, and then 97 for Cornell. And everybody else who played this year, Duke, Kentucky, all those, not to 70, but Cornell with 97, was just a weird night. But in general, looking at these defensive numbers, they're outstanding. And Carson Cooper is a huge part of that. The leadership on this team has been so big, and I don't think he gets enough credit for that either. The leadership that he has with this group and the testament of what it can do when you're here for 4 years and when you're able to grow and come up through this and being able to tell these guys hey, look, this is where this goes and this is what you need to be doing, and not being afraid to have that, because some of the times there are guys that are some of the top players on these teams and they're not natural born leaders. And when you're not, I'm not saying that Carson isn't, but when you're not, you have to develop that. And some guys can never develop that. And Carson has become one of the better players in this team while also being a really good leader.
Still plenty more Michigan State basketball talk to come, but guys, FanDuel is now in playoff mode, and you should be too, because every game day during the NFL playoffs, FanDuel is giving customers even more ways to get in on all the action. Right now, every NFL playoff game day, and boy howdy, is there one coming up this week, and FanDuel users get a profit boost pack waiting for them right inside of the app. So what it is, it's basically just what it sounds like, guys. It is a pack of profit boosts. It's very easy to use, and well, all that they do is just make your bets turn out a potentially even bigger profit. Not too shabby, right? Just open the FanDuel app. A profit boost will be waiting for you right there on game day, and you get to decide where you want to apply it to for these NFL games, right? Like for me, examples, you might want to fade these. You might want to tail these. You get to decide. For some reason, I like Jarrett Stidham, though, plus 4.5 in the Broncos. Like, I don't know. It just feels like that the defense is clicking enough where they could protect the 4.5 number. But I also like this prop, too. Evan Ingram over 19.5 receiving yards. So let's ride, Broncos. Why not? Let's do it, guys. So, guys, you make the picks, apply the profit boost, and, hey, get an even bigger payout while the playoffs are rolling. So visit FanDuel.com, the official sportsbook partner of the NFL, and grab your profit boost pack every NFL playoff game day, again, over at FanDuel. And before getting back with our guy, Zach Surdenik, guys, hey, especially you everyday listeners, first of all, thanks a lot for making us the #1 ranked podcast network out there. Number 2, the Everydayers Club. Guys, it's $5 a month. You're going to get some ad-free audio episodes. You're going to get some bonus national shows. You're going to get exclusive opportunities to get some show merchandise if that tickles your fancy. Guys, that is with the Everydayers Club. If you want more information, $5 a month. The link is in the description below. Now, out of this Oregon game, there's been a rivalry that has been birthed, and that is Kurt Tang against Tom Izzo's 99-year-old mother. All Michigan State fans have seen it at this point. Pretty much every college basketball fan has seen the clip at this point of Izzo. Despite how great the defense has been for the team as a whole, like we just talked about, still never satisfied, and that's what makes Michigan State here. But I want to take this an opposite route here because, look, that's a funny line, and Lore knows that we've heard him say lines similar to that, if not way worse than that, behind closed doors at practice. But the different route I want to take here, Zach, Izzo's not just a monster 24/7, obviously. Right. You talk to him quite a bit. Who does he talk the most highly about, whether it's off the record, on the record? Who does Izzo really put a lot of shine on?
So I think there's 2 answers that I immediately come to mind. Both of them, to me, kind of feel obvious. I don't know if that would be the case for everybody, but the 2 quickest answers, I think, are probably the team's best 2 players, and I think that's Jeremy Fears and Jackson Kohler. He's talked about Jeremy Fears a ton ever since he got here. I mean, even as a recruit, he was throwing out Mateen Cleaves type leadership comparisons. But you're seeing the way that Jeremy Fears has developed, and I feel really, really highly on the development of Fears and his offensive game and his potential and his scoring potential. And you can see that. And Tom Izzo has talked a lot about how he loves the way that Jeremy runs this team. And he's continuing to grow and do that better. He talked about Thanksgiving. We talked to him after the UNC game, and that at the time was Jeremy's career high. And he had a great game. And the way that Izzo described it was he's starting to run this team the way I want this team to be run. And that's continuing to be the case. And you're seeing that out of a guy who's a redshirt sophomore. And that is really, really helping. And that year being able to kind of be there and be around for Fears really, really helped him to become even more of what this group already is. I think Fears already was that in a lot of ways. He's got that type of mentality that this team looks for and that really this team embodies. And it's been able to continue to grow from that. And the other guy is Jackson Kohler. He's said multiple times, like, he may not have had anybody that's worked as hard as Jackson Kohler and that puts in as much work as Kohler. And I think you can see that. I think that there are a lot of other guys. I think that a big thing is he really likes this team and this group and the chemistry of this group. We talk about it a lot on these trips. We were talking about it with some people out in the West Coast. Like, this group, it's not just on the outside that it seems like everybody likes each other on this group. This group, for me, this is my 2nd year here. So both last year and this year, being on the inside of it, have been so much fun because these guys genuinely have a lot of fun with each other all the time. And it's on the court, it's off the court, it's at practice, it's on the bus, it's in the hotel, wherever these guys are at, they're having a lot of fun. And I think a big part of that comes to the leadership of this group as well, and stepping in with these guys. I think that everybody in this group is really been able to contribute with that. And I think that it goes back to the leadership, and that goes back to those 2 guys at the helm of it, along with Cooper and Cohen Carr as well.
And that's what's important about guys sticking together for 3-4 years. It's not just they get the opportunity to develop. It's not that they hit the ground running. Being able to play such a cohesive defensive Mm-hmm. As a unit. It's also off the court too. Like chemistry does matter. That's what doesn't pop up on analytics sites or box scores. Sounds corny, it sounds cliche, but that actually does matter in the world of sports. So it's been great that this team has been able to stick together and, well, also, just pretty much dominate too together the last 2 years. So let's combine two names here into a question where this hasn't really popped into my head until very, very recently, Zach. And it's a fun one. Because I don't know what the answer is, but most likely to be playing in the NBA next season. Now, there are two different routes here because the first name, Carson Cooper. He's out of eligibility in theory, but in this day and age of NCAA, I don't really know if that even matters. He could very well play next year. I got no clue. But for sake of conversation, let's say that he's out of eligibility. Okay. The other guy, Jeremy Fears. Now, of course, he would be a little undersized, 6'2" on a roster. We all know how the NBA just loves their size. We saw it with Jason Richardson sliding out of the lottery last year, mainly because of his size. But the 4-to-1 assist-to-turnover ratio, 5th best in the country right now. We've seen his offensive game grow. Could there be a situation where he does leave for the NBA after this year? I want to hear your opinion because it is, again, maybe a little apples to oranges in comparisons, because of playing style, their body type, and, well, Cooper just might be out of options, and Jeremy Fears will have the option. Next year, what do you think? Who's got the more likely path to take some NBA minutes next year, Zach?
So I really liked this question when I saw it earlier.
Thanks,
I think
man.
that it's a very interesting thing to look at because I'm really bullish on the development of Jeremy Fears, as I mentioned. I think that he is going to continue to get better and better and better. And I asked the question earlier in the year to our radio crew after one of the games, and I just said, at what point do we start having a conversation about whether or not Jeremy Fears is going to be an All-American? And I don't necessarily mean this year, although, his numbers, if he has a strong finish, could get some consideration for a third-team spot. But going forward, I think the path is certainly there. And I think it's become more apparent over the last few weeks as he's picked up his offensive game and his scoring game. And I talked to him out west and about the kind of picking that up. And he mentioned that it's about trying to find some balance and trying to not just be a passer, but be a scorer as well and get those shots when you get them. And the angles that he's taken, the creativity of that is something that takes some time to develop. You don't necessarily teach the creativity. You can teach the moves, but the ability to get your shot off in those moments is really important, and get to the free throw line is huge. And talking about the NBA, get to the free throw line is huge. With all that being said, I don't think the answer to that question is Jeremy Fears. I think it's Carson Cooper. I think that Fears' jump shot has gotten a lot better, but I think that that's going to be the big question for him. And that's the advantage that Jace Richardson had in terms of going to the NBA over Fears. Was Richardson was a 44% three-point shooter-ish. And so he's going to get looks because he's going to be able to knock down that three-point shot off the dribble, off the catch. That's where it's so appetizing for NBA teams with a smaller guard. With Fears, I think that Fears has the ability to be an NBA player. I don't think there's any doubt in my mind that I think he can be that. And I think that he can be a good NBA player. I think if you're asking me the question of who would be the better pro, I think the answer is Fears. But in terms of who is more likely to be there next year, I think there's a way for Carson Cooper to be there. And I know it kind of was a joke on social media after the Duke game. An NBA draft analyst mentioned something about Carson Cooper, and everybody was like, Cooper? And he had 16 and 16 against Duke. But I don't necessarily think that Carson Cooper will be in the NBA next year. He might be. I don't know. I'm not that connected in the NBA circles. But what I will say is watching the NBA quite a bit, because I watch a ton of basketball and really just a ton of sports like we all do. But the backup big role in the NBA is something that Carson Cooper can fill to a T. Carson Cooper can be a guy that is going to do the two biggest things that he needs to be able to do to fill that role. He's going to be able to play good defense, and he's going to be able to catch and dunk lobs. If you can be a good defender and a really good screen and roller, you're going to have a chance. And that's where I think that's at. But it's all about landing in the right spot. I mean, you look at guys like that where some guys are going to get a great chance. Some guys aren't. The two-way contracts is kind of an interesting thing now. And if we're counting a two-way contract, I definitely think there's a real shot that he's there next year. But it's it's changed a lot since like some of the other guys that we would think of in those roles that have come out and kind of been able to find their way through. But it's all about projectability, and I don't know how much more he's going to be able to show off that 3-point shot this year. He's worked on it a ton, but he hasn't taken it. He told us he was going to make one. We're going to see.
Oh, we saw the Moneyball clips. Oh yeah,
he pulled out the Kevin Garnett 2-pointers in at Washington. We were messing with him about just a foot inside the line every time.
That's right.
It looked smooth, and the biggest thing that I mentioned in that Washington post game about it was he was really confident in it, and he's going to catch the ball. He's going to shoot it, and he knows that he can shoot it. And that was all the talk during media day when I talked to the bigs about the versatility of the group. They were like, all of us can really stretch the floor. And they were like, and Coop has worked a ton on that. And he is able to stretch the floor, and he's doing that right now, not necessarily from 28 feet out, but from 18 feet out. Right. He's able to stretch the floor in a big way, and that's going to be helpful because if you can't shoot it all, you can't play in today's NBA. And so it's going to be really interesting. I mean, Andre Drummond's shooting 2 to 3 threes a night right now. Like you've got guys, everybody shooting the three. And so that's going to be the question. But just because he's not doing it right now within the scope of this MSU offense doesn't mean that he can't eventually do that if he's able to get it two-way somewhere with somebody. And I think that the proof's in the pudding that the development has continued to grow. And I've maintained this on Cohen Carr and on a few other guys, and I talked about it with Jace Richardson last year. Professional scouting departments feel really good about their ability to develop people. Like they're very confident that they can figure things out. Sometimes maybe overconfident that they can figure things out. And so they're going to take a chance on somebody where that's there. That's why I always maintain Cohen Carr is going to be an NBA player. He's going to get an opportunity because, I mean, watch Cohen Carr and you'll figure out why they're going to draft Cohen Carr. But it's the development route of it and continuing that. And I think that Carson Cooper clearly has the ability to continue to develop. It's just going to be a question of where. But I think that he is probably the more likely guy.
We're going to talk about Saturday's game against Maryland. But first, tax season might as well already be here, guys. And best of all, tax season doesn't have to take over your life. This year, TurboTax is making it easier than ever just to hand things off and move on with your day, your week, your life, because it feels like it could be a soul-sucking endeavor sometimes filing your taxes. I mean, but it doesn't have to be. Because with TurboTax Full Service, you can have your taxes done for you by a trusted local expert start to finish without the stress or guesswork. So instead of spending hours trying to figure out forms, what they all mean, rifling through what can be endless amounts of paperwork, it feels like, you can just meet with a local TurboTax expert in person, or if it's even easier for you, connect online. Guys, they handle everything from W-2s to self-employed forms, and they work to give you every deduction they can find. It's a huge time saver, and it gives you real peace of mind knowing that an expert is handling it. I know that we all like to do our own things sometimes, but in life, sometimes it's just nice to pass it off to someone that actually knows what's going on, like a TurboTax expert. So guys, for a limited time, you can have your taxes done by a local TurboTax expert for just $150 all in if a TurboTax expert didn't file for you last year. Just file by February 28th, guys. That'll be here before you know it, so get in soon. Take taxes off your plate and get back to your life. Visit TurboTax.com/local to book your appointment today. Let's talk Maryland. Whoa. Saturday, noon, CBS. It's going to be fun. Oh, my Maryland. 8-11 overall. 1-7 in Big Ten play. All 7 losses by double digits. Their lone win came against Penn State at home, where they shot north of 50% from three-point land. But, God. Oh my, their offensive and defensive efficiency outside of the top 100. Their rebounding is mediocre. Their shooting is an abysmal 48% on effective field goal percentage, which is barely inside the top 300 nationally. And teams, well, on the contrary, they shoot pretty well against them. Their defense is also barely inside the top 300 in opposing effective field goal percentage. They turn the ball over a lot. They do not force a lot of turnovers. Their best player is Pharrel Payne, averaging 17 points per game. Just one small problem with that, though, Zach. He hasn't played in about a month, and while they haven't announced that he's out for the season, I would consider it unlikely he plays on Saturday. It's a bit of a mysterious situation going on there. Torvik, BartTorvik.com, of course, they expect a 78-60 Michigan State victory. Zach, here's my hardest question I got for you so far. Not to like completely disrespect an opponent,
right?
You gotta show up and play the game as if either me or you are playing this game, or anyone listening is playing the game. But truly, what is there to be concerned about with this Maryland team? Because it has been quite the season for them so far.
Yeah, going back to, so Pharrel Payne got hurt in that Michigan game, and they were, I don't know if people were watching that Michigan game, but they were up double digits almost in that second half.
They shot hot that game. Yeah, they were shooting hot.
They did, and a big part of that is Diggy Coit. He's the answer to your question. Okay. He had 43 in that game against Penn State in their win. Yeah. He had, I want to say, like 31 against Michigan. He can light it up from three, and so you have to make him work. But losing Pharrel Payne hurts. Yeah. They lost Washington in that Michigan game as well. He got ejected. That's what turned that game. He got that second technical. Michigan was down 9 at Maryland, and then all of a sudden things flipped when you lost Payne at Washington. Sure. But when Diggy Coit's shooting it well, he can keep him in the game. And it's kind of a similar thing that you talked about with Oregon without Shellstat and Biddle, where the biggest thing that you're worried about is them just going nuclear from 3. And that is something that it's going to be interesting to see, because they're not like, Oregon plays that funky matchup zone that can cause you problems. Like Maryland defensively, as you mentioned, is not that great. And so offensively, you got to think you can get out in transition is got to be the goal. But you also got to realize that Maryland knows that they're not that great defensively right now. And so they're probably not going to crash the glass a ton. You're probably going to see a team that's going to want to slow Michigan State down as much as possible, because that is their formula to winning this game, is slowing it down and then letting Coit go crazy. The biggest problem he's going to have with that is this guard group defensively is really, really good. And I know that Izzo's struggled to find that defensive match at the 2 a little bit, but he's finding himself more and more comfortable with Divine Ugochukwu at the 2. Trey Ford offensively had a nice game at Oregon. Hopefully he's able to get going a little bit, because everybody knows he's got the talent. And so he's probably the second best athlete on this team. I mean, Trey Ford can fly. Like, people talk about Trey Ford as a sharpshooter, and he can shoot. But we've seen a couple times them throw the ball up to Trey Ford. Like, he can jump. And so it's just kind of getting him acclimated to it. But the Maryland concern would just be them going insane from 3. And I don't necessarily see that happening against this team. But the other thing I will say is that coming back from the West Coast is not fun. And so teams do really poorly in this game after. And I've had this week and a half stretch circled for a while, because the travel is really tough here. We just spent 6 days out west. We're home for a few days. Then we go hit the other coast to go to Rutgers on Tuesday. And then you come back home for Michigan. And so this stretch here of these next 3 games are really important, because you got 2 games against teams that you would hope to take care of business against, games you're going to be comfortably favored in. And then you've got a huge game in Michigan. There's multiple problems that are presented here, though, because you have all the travel and the tiring part of the travel. Because as much as college basketball is becoming more like professional basketball, it's not. These guys still have classes. They still have other things going on, and they're not fully used to it yet. And so you've got 2 games that you can't afford to overlook, because you can't really afford to lose them. But you also have the biggest game of the year so far coming up at the end of that stretch. And so it's a very interesting dilemma to get yourself in, because you have to make sure that you're not falling asleep in these games, because Diggy Coit can give you 40. And if he gives you 40, all bets are off at that point.
Could be a problem. No. Yeah. Look, before we, let you go and enjoy the rest of your week and start prepping more for this game coming up. Yeah. That's, the one thing I'm, just looking at too, as to how this can maybe be a spooky game is Maryland's 3-point rate is pretty high. And that's different than 3-point percentage. They do put up a lot of threes. Now, granted, they're only making 32.7%, which isn't all that great, but just like they did against Penn State, teams can get hot. It does happen. Elijah Saunders, he's having the best shooting year of his career. All right. Darius Adams, remember that name, guys? Darius Adams, the 5-star freshman that picked Maryland over Michigan State. he's not shooting the ball well whatsoever in his freshman season, but I don't know. He visited Breslin Center. Maybe he'll be familiar with the sight lines. I don't know. I mean, you never know what's going to happen any given Saturday, but whoa, boy, does Buzz Williams have quite the task at hand to get this Terrapin program off the mat. I thought it'd be like a little rocky, obviously, in his first year, but like this, getting piped in these 7 conference losses, oh boy. So that's what we got here, Zach. Anything you want to plug here before we let you go and enjoy the rest of your weekend and the build up to this game against the Terrapins?
You can check us out, Spartan Media Network. We're going game at noon, so I'm live at 11 a.m. So if you're driving into, the game, tune in. I'll be on at 11 o'clock, and then you can also catch us on the Michigan State Athletics app. We're on an hour before the game. And then you can follow me on socials. I'm just at Zach Surdenik. We're trying to plug some stuff. And if there's anything you guys want to know, want to hear, whatever, just reach out for sure.
Heck yeah, no, much appreciated, Zach. You're the best. Love your insight. And thanks a lot for your time, man. And not just your time, Zach, but all the listeners, all the viewers. If this was your only show this week, thanks a lot. If you listen to every single episode, my God, what's wrong with you? But hey, thanks a lot. Much appreciated, guys. You guys are all the best. Thanks a lot for making Locked On Spartans your first listen every single day. We'll catch you after this Maryland game. Love you all. Go Green.